Good evening. This meeting is of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is a time for public participation during the meeting as indicated in the agenda items, remarks of the public. Roll call.
Mrs. DeVore? Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
Mr. Katsowski?
Here.
Dr. Phelps?
Here.
Mr. Thorson?
Here. Pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda and addendum items? Item under new business. You want to approve? Okay, so the motion, do I have a second?
You can make a motion.
Okay.
Second.
I'll second his motion to add it. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I also would like to add something under business. Do we do that now?
You certainly can.
Okay, I make a motion to add a discussion of advisory committees.
Do we have a second?
The first one, communication between the superintendent, treasurer, and the board.
That's for new business?
Yes.
And Ben, yours?
Advisory committees.
Such as what, Ben?
Motion to create a treasury and investment advisory committee of citizens and a motion to create a faculties and technology citizen advisory board.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve the agenda and addendum items with these items there?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. Okay, I wanted to make some corrections. We have page number 35 of the high school handbook. We just corrected some dates. Okay? And then also on personnel matters, item number 4, we have two employees that they should be under 14, 15, and not under 15, 16. They're duplicated. Okay. Any more discussion? Okay, roll call.
Mrs. DeVore? Yes. Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
Mr. Katsowski?
Yes.
Dr. Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Thorson?
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes of May 13th, 2015, regular meeting? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Dr. Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Thorson?
Yes.
Mrs. DeVore? Abstain. Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
Mr. Katsowski?
Yes.
Okay, remarks to the public. We don't have any participation tonight. We're going to change your mind. How about students in the back? Yes, sir.
I would just like to introduce myself. I'm on the agenda tonight. I'm John Gromek, the representative for the West Jaga Joint Recreation District, and I'm the one who's seeking another 3-year term on the board.
Well, that leads us to the next item, so
Right.
thank you. Okay. Board appointment on behalf of the, appointment on behalf of the board, the rec board, is that correct, sir?
West Jaga Joint Recreation District.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve Mr. Gromek to a 3-year term starting May 2015?
So moved. Second.
Do I have a second?
And you have, please, you have a handout on Mr. Gromek that explains what the appointment's for. And he's obviously here to see you.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay. Roll call.
Dr. Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Thorson?
Yes.
Mrs. DeVore? Yes. Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
Mr. Katsowski?
Yes.
Thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, superintendent's report.
Thank you. At this time, just a few updates. We had a Cleveland Indians game. There's some questions about We have elementary kids going to the Cleveland Indians game tomorrow. There were some questions at the high school. We canceled that trip to the Cleveland Indians weekend. Please just inform me that they will be sending, if we go tomorrow, if everything is fine in Cleveland tomorrow, we will send the elementary and middle school students to the Indians game at 12:05 game. At that point, we have measures put in place to drop them off the door, pick them up at the door. We may send a plainclothes policeman with them. So if something happens, the parents will all be informed, guardians. But that came up over the weekend. Jay and I, Mr. Bishop and myself were talking, and we made the decision not to go at that point. But we obviously have other kids going, and it's Wednesday.
That was the choir to sing to?
Yeah, we had 17 members of the choir. We're singing the national anthem on Sunday.
It's disappointing, but I think it was a wise call. Thank you for making that call.
So, in light of that, with the elementary and middle school going, we want to just make an announcement that we're monitoring the situation. We have one of the police from here go with them as well. And at this point, Mr. Burnett?
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to recognize the two following people that are standing next to me. Our State Support Team, Region number 4, every year asks for outstanding special educators and special ed students. It's the Dr. Walter and Dr. Horn award. It's throughout the state, and it's State Support Team 4 asks for nominees throughout our district of people who excel in a student with special needs and a teacher who works with special needs students. And this year, the two people that got chosen from our district is Ms. Kimberly Nardi. She is an intervention specialist at Lindsay Elementary School. And over several years, she has led the Step Up program. This program is set up to address the needs and accommodations for students that include disabilities such as Down syndrome and autism. Kim has coordinated the program to where the students are able to regularly participate in the classroom setting in meaningful ways while addressing their specific needs through specialized instruction. I'd like to say congratulations to Kimberly and Artie. Kim also, from our State Support Team, Region 4, has been picked as the outstanding educator for that region, and she is going to Columbus to represent our region in June for a luncheon also. So, Kim, congratulations. Next, I have up here our great student, Ms. Julia Warhol. And Julia is a student with exemplary motivation and dedication to everything that she does. She admirably completes all assignments that are given to her, no matter the difficult level. Julia is a generous student who is always helping her classmates and offering this help with patience and respect, whether to an individual student or when involved in a cooperative group. And we'd like to say congratulations to Julia Warhol as well. They were both honored as well as the State Support. We had a ceremony at Auburn Career Center a couple weeks ago, so they were honored there as well as our professor and
Mr. Bishop, this time, give us a graduation update.
Graduation is going to take place on June 3rd at 5:30. Graduation rehearsal for all the seniors will be at 8:30 in the morning. We are going to meet for breakfast first at Mayfield Methodist Church, where it's going to be catered by Rise and Dine. All the seniors are going to get together and have a nice breakfast. Following that, we're going to meet at the high school and have a rehearsal. At that time, there'll be a lot of the supplies delivered for graduation, including the stage. The sound system, a sound system has been rented, so that audio engineers have been consulted. And we are bringing in speakers that are going to sit on the field and project out. These are individuals that take care of the sound for podcast, hosting conferences, and they took care of Kenson's graduation that had to be changed quickly as well. So looking forward to having that, as well as 2 sound engineers that are going to be on site. We have a stage being delivered, 200 and we've got somewhere around 250 chairs for students, staff, and students that might need to sit underneath the tent and might not be able to make it up on the stands. In the stands, we do have a ramp, though, that anybody wishing to walk there still will be able to. So looking forward to a spectacular evening. I know that we're going to have this stinking decorative plants and balloons. I know that we're working on right now having bottled water for everybody. So it's going to be it's a nice event, and I know that a lot of our seniors are looking forward to it, obviously, but so is our staff too, who we plan on. We have a large number of staff participating in the graduation ceremony as well. Looking forward to a nice evening. The day of rehearsal is also, it's the morning. It's the morning.
How many have we expected in the past? What is our numbers usually for?
About 1,400.
1,400. Is that the same, or did you up the amount that people could bring?
No, that's about the amount. That's like that one side of the stadium.
I don't know if, I know you probably heard us in the past talk, but Ben and I, along with the rest of the board, are going to put on a reception immediately following commencement. And, you know, we've got Patterson Donuts, and we solicited all of the support groups that we could get in contact with, and every support group is going to donate a cake that says congratulations from the PTO or from the Corral. So we're looking at this point to get a couple of parents that aren't necessarily have graduates that evening that can cut and prepare all of that so it's ready to go right afterwards. So, yeah, we'll touch base, either I, in the next couple of days with you.
What do we have about elderly handicapped access? I know you talked about a ramp, but, I mean, do we have?
Over on the, we're having an elderly or handicapped, anybody that's requesting. We have 52 people that have requested special seating. And we have a tent set up. It'll be off to the, on the corner, on the north side of the bleachers, on the track, and partially on the field. There'll be actually 2 tents set up with over 100 chairs for those individuals. And we have a 1, maybe 2 motorized carts, golf carts, that will be transporting back. That lot just north of the stadium will be reserved for those individuals, and we plan on bringing them in. We're going to have staff members run back and forth with golf carts.
Will families be able to sit with their disabled families, so we have entire families together with their elderly or disabled?
Yes, we have more than enough seats.
Oh, good.
Okay. And the 10-day forecast looks good.
So far.
Love it. All right, thanks. And also, at the last board meeting, the board had asked that as part of the resolution, we discussed about the passage of the levy. And I have created a proclamation here I will read. It says, whereas the West Jog Local School District will start public to ensure the prosperous quality and life and strong economic health for our schools and community. And whereas the West Jog Local School District will fulfill leadership roles and serve as a conduit through its teachers, parents, business, demonstrate the care, creativity, and support that leads to student achievement. And whereas the West Jog community works together with the local school district to nurture, train our students, give them knowledge, skills, opportunity they need to succeed. And whereas the West Jog Local School District recognizes and thanks the West Jog community for their dedication and awareness in recognizing the educational needs of the community by the passage of the May 5th, 2015 renewal levy. Signed by all 5 board members, so we can put this in your office as well. But it does recognize the community. We appreciate your support. Thank you.
Does anyone have a car that's convertible out here?
Is it raining like crazy?
It's rain, yeah.
There's good people out in the field out there.
Okay, sorry guys, but we need to make sure.
Okay. There was a thunderstorm warning. Weird.
We're going to take a brief intermission for our students that are here from Mr. Ryan's class?
Ryan.
Okay. If you need signatures, come up here. If you want to stay for the board meeting, you're more than welcome to, because we're having a few presentations. And I'm sure that,
To
of items for Mr. Russo to go over. So, the floor is yours.
Good evening. I have the pleasure of introducing Alex Dave from ShoreTel. And ShoreTel, for those of you that don't know, happens to be the leading choice across the nation for communication platforms. And along with Alex, who's going to do the presentation, we have Doug Demeter, the business communications specialist for a company out of Wadsworth that provides the service component for ShoreTel. So for now, I'll turn it over to Alex.
Thanks, Jim. I'm going to wander around behind you and turn this TV on because I have some things I want to show you. And if I can answer this, spin around, maybe we'll get done. There you go. As Jim said, my name is Alex David. I'm with ShoreTel. ShoreTel is a communications manufacturer based in Sunnyvale, California, although we have offices in Brisbane, Australia, and Munich, and London, and all sorts of places. I'm going to tell you today why ShoreTel is really fundamentally different. You may have looked at other telecommunications platforms before, and ShoreTel is really different. I'm going to tell you what that means and why that is. ShoreTel is a platform that brings together the telecommunications system, unified communications. You know what that means? Unified communications means it's not just picking up the phone. It's being able to get any kind of communications you need, any place you need them. On your smartphone, at home, someplace else, at your desk, down the hall, everywhere. Or not be able to be found if you were on weekend or someplace you don't want to be found. It's also call center capabilities, all in one platform. ShoreTel brings all this together, all these capabilities. The ability to have a desk phone or a classroom phone in your hand. The ability to have office application integration, such as the ability for classroom phones to go on Do Not Disturb automatically when there's a class in progress. But for the superintendent or designated people to be able to call into that classroom in spite of that. For somebody to be able to dial a number and alert everybody in the school that a certain thing is happening, be it so much as a spill in the hallway or somebody dangerous running down the hall, or a student that's hurt themselves, or whatever it is. And then when the first responders come to the front door, everybody knows you need to go down to classroom so-and-so instead of having them run around and the receptionist saying, I didn't know anything was going on because I didn't know anybody had dialed 911. Those are the kinds of things that can be done with integration of different applications. Voice, obviously, people talk to each other, although we don't do that as much anymore. We do a lot of this, right? Unified messaging is part of a lot of this. It's instant messaging, secure, on the platform, as opposed to using the public, instant messaging. Presence, so that you know if somebody's available or not without having to call them. So you can say, you're on the phone, he's in class, somebody else is out on the football field. Videos included, conferencing is included, web collaboration. More and more, I have conference calls where I would have, in past years, gone to somebody's office and talked to them. Instead, we just talk on the phone and we look at a document, we look at a presentation so we don't have to travel. And that gives you the ability to bring people in and talk to your students and talk to your faculty that you never would be able to get them to come out to this area. As I said, this is all available wherever you are. I have stood in a hotel on the hotel Wi-Fi and talked on my smartphone without using any cellular minutes. We have people that are maintenance people in schools that have iPods that have capability of talking on. They don't have any cellular, so they don't have a cellular contract and they don't incur any cellular expenses. But as long as they're in the Wi-Fi in the building, they can be reached just by dialing a number. You don't even have to know where they are. So this gives your users unconstrained communication and collaboration, and I'm going to tell you how we do this. We refocus your IT people on other things that are important, such as maintaining your network and things like that. They don't spend a lot of time maintaining the telephone system. This is the old way of looking at the world, where things were proprietary. If you didn't buy it from us, it's not going to work. Where there were boundaries, you can't add this application because it doesn't fit. But now, it's a new way of looking at the technology world. Everything is together. If you have an application that you want to integrate with your telephone system, then we can do it. As a matter of fact, BCS, the partner that's proposing this, it has developers on staff that does this for ShoreTel partners across the country. History of ShoreTel. 1996, Ed Vassar, a serial entrepreneur, was starting a new company, and he wanted a telephone system that he could install and maintain. He didn't want to have a vendor to do that. He couldn't find one. Well, one day, he and a friend of his were having lunch on a park bench in Shoreline Park in Sunnyvale, California, bemoaning the fact that there wasn't a simple, easy, straightforward telephone system that they could find that they could put in this business. And we looked at each other and said, we're engineers, let's build one. That was the beginning of ShoreTel. We were originally called Shoreline after the park where they had the conversation, and we're now called ShoreTel because when they went to Europe, they talked to people about Shoreline, and the Brits said, Shoreline. Surfboards, right? No, not surfboards, totally. So the difference about ShoreTel comes from the fact that Ed and his partner started the company with a clean sheet of paper and said, how should this work? That's not where our competitors come from. Our competitors come from two different places. Number one, they were legacy telephone providers that decided to get into the next generation of telephone systems by overlaying new applications on it. How complex does that sound, right? Now you've got two things that have to work together. The other place that some of our competitors came from was, we want to get into this business, so we're going to go out and buy 27 different companies. We're going to bring all their products in, and we're going to make them work together. That's not simple either. But with ShoreTel, it was one sheet of paper, one idea that got developed all the way. Today, in 2015, we've got 33,000 business customers representing over 3.5 million handsets in 60 different countries. We have over 1,000 employees. When I joined 9 years ago, we had 400. We have been and still are the fastest growing telecommunications manufacturer in the world. It all boils down to the fact that it's even on our logo. Our solution is brilliantly simple. You don't have to have a PhD to run the thing. You don't have to have, as a matter of fact, many of our customers outsource adding and deleting users to their HR department. That's how simple it is. You can add a user in about 15 seconds with zero training. You can get certified to administer the system in 4 hours. You can get certified to install the system in 4 days. This is not, you have to take a $10,000 course in order to be able to do it. This is the modified legacy technology, where you have a legacy telephone system that you lay new technology on top of. It's like a typewriter with a mouse. How well is that going? Typewriter with a mouse, but it's kind of cool. Then there's the bolted together technology, where you have a Frankenstein that has multiple servers and multiple interfaces, and you have to know which interface to use, and you have to go from one to another. I've seen some of our competitor systems where it takes 45 minutes to add a user. It's not uncommon. Complexity. Complexity is the enemy of ease. But complexity, easy to, something that's easy to administer can still be powerful. And something that's powerful can be easy. And that's what we found with ShoreTel. That is a very, very difficult thing to do. And then we're the only one that's done it, because we're the only one that got to start off with a blank sheet of paper and say, how should this work? It's easy with ShoreTel to deploy. We deployed Port Huron schools up in Michigan in the middle of the school year, and nobody knew we had done it. In the middle of the school year, how many schools can do that? Easy to use. Most of our users use a desktop application to control their phone, and it's so intuitive that before long they can't imagine doing it any other way. It's easy to manage. Most ShoreTel customers manage their own system. They're backed up by the partner that sold it, like BCS, but they usually administer it themselves, and they don't have a staff to do it. I was with a customer one time who had another product, and they brought in their telecom staff, and there were 5 people. 5 people. I said, what do you do? And he said, I administer the voicemail. I said, all your time administering the voicemail? Yes. What do you do? I spend part of my time administering the voicemail and part of my time on the telephone system. What do? I manage the call center. Okay, what do? The fourth person. I manage the call center part-time and I help him on the voicemail. The fifth person, I said, what do? He said, I manage that. That's a lot of people for the telephones. You can use people like that much better in the classroom. It's easy to integrate. We have what's called an open architecture, which means that our API, our interface to other things out of ShoreTel, is open. Anybody can have it. It's free. We'll give it to anybody that wants to do development. So that if you want to make things pop up on your screen, if you want to do those kinds of things and you have the ability to do that coding, have at it. It doesn't have to come from us. Now, we have a lot of those applications already built, and you can get them for us, but if you want to build them yourself, that's fine. Doug's company does a lot of that kind of development. But we have a lot of customers that do that too. It's easy to scale. I'll show you that in just a minute. ShoreTel, instead of having multiple products, one for small business, one for medium, one for large enterprise, we have one product that goes from one telephone to 20,000 telephones without ever removing anything, without ever doing an upgrade, without ever replacing any hardware. It makes it easy for your people to team. Let's take this example. Teachers in the classroom. You don't want the teacher interrupted in the classroom. They're teaching. A parent calls with something important, leaves a voicemail message. How does the teacher get the voicemail message? How about having the message transcribed and dropped in their inbox so that in a break in the classroom they can look at this and say, I don't need to take care of that right now. I can do that after that. So they get a text of the voicemail message with an attachment that is the audio of the voicemail message in case something got scrambled they can listen to. I think it's inspiring. Market will get that started. So our architecture is unique in that for 50 users, we would have one piece of hardware. When you go to 500 users, you would have more hardware. Go to 5,000 users, you just add more little boxes and licenses. It just scales right up. Lowest total cost. I know you're talking about levies up here, right? I know that money's tight. It always is in education. ShoreTel has the lowest total cost as documented by outside studies. But what you have to look at, instead of looking at the quote, how much is this going to put it in? How much is our maintenance going to cost? How much is administration going to cost? How many people are going to have to manage this thing? How much downtime is it going to be? How much electricity is it going to cost? What kind of network upgrade? There are some telephone systems where if you put it in, your whole network has to come from the same provider. You don't have a choice to go buy different Ethernet switches or different routers or different firewalls and things like that. All has to come because they have proprietary applications that run in all those things that work with the telephone system. So much of the cost of the telephone system really is in the network. With ShoreTel, your current network is probably just fine. And I don't care who built it. Finally, it's not just about the cost. It's about what you can achieve. You can achieve almost anything with the ShoreTel system and do it at the lowest possible cost. Anybody ever heard of Net Promoter Score? Don't feel bad, I haven't either. Net Promoter Score is a way of judging whether your customers are happy with you or not. You ask one question. On a scale of 0 to 10, how likely are you to recommend ShoreTel to a friend or colleague? There are promoters. Those are the people that score you 10, 9, or 8. There are detractors that score you 0 through 4. And then in the middle, there are neutrals. You take the percentage of responses that were promoters, subtract the percentage that were detractors, and that's your score. Our competition typically is a 36. ShoreTel scores a 45. What does that mean in the world in terms of other companies that use Net Promoter Score? Well, these companies score 20 or less. And some of these we kind of like, right? Dell, I got a Dell computer at home, I kind of like it. They scored a 20 or less. Toshiba, HP, Sony, Best Buy, I buy Best Buy all the time. They scored less than a 40. eBay, Craigslist, BlackBerry scores around the 50, between 40 and 60. And the ones that are world class, the ones that score above 60, Harley Davidson, or some people get tattoos on their neck, all sorts of stuff with Harley Davidson. Facebook, Apple, and Short. So we have a business communication system with a unique architecture and the lowest cost and the highest customer satisfaction. And that is the result of why we're different. But the cause of why we're different is that we started from scratch. We didn't have impediments in our way of legacy or bolted together architecture. Questions?
What happens, you said that, as long as they have an iPod or phone or a computer, what happens if the Wi-Fi comes down?
Well, the system doesn't depend on Wi-Fi. It depends, if you've got an iPhone, for instance, it doesn't only depend on Wi-Fi. It can use cellular or it can use cellular data. I mean, the iPod is useless without Wi-Fi. But I've got an iPhone, and if I'm in the building that my iPhone has joined the Wi-Fi and I'm talking on it, I walk out of the building into the parking lot, it will pull that call out to cellular without dropping the
Even
call.
if it's a flip phone and not,
It has to be a smart.
it
It has to be a smart phone. Flip phones will do.
you're still on there.
Yeah, they are. My wife has an iPhone that thinks it's blue.
You said we utilize equipment that we're currently using. I mean, we have the AT&T system.
The data network is what I'm
Data
talking about. The data switches and all that, the infrastructure for the data that you can use.
Okay, and so is that, where's Sean? Is that taxing our bandwidth?
No, they wouldn't, it wouldn't tax our bandwidth. That wouldn't.
No, it's a tiny fraction of the bandwidth available. Even if it's on the 10100 network, it's not a big bandwidth.
So it doesn't affect our kids using the internet whatsoever, doesn't it?
We're not using the internet at all.
Okay.
We use your traditional telephone lines, but we rely on the internal computer. But that has a bandwidth. I mean, your point is well taken. You know, there is a bandwidth limitation on that network, but we use so little and there's so much there that it's not so much. And you won't see a difference in, internet.
Could you use the analogy of almost like fiber optics to
Fiber optics are
to what we were doing to hardwired phones?
Fiber optics are just another transport. In other words, is it on copper? Is it on fiber? It's kind of like, is it in a PVC pipe or a steel pipe? It's just fiber optics is more bandwidth. Anything else? I tried not to get into the mumbo jumbo. I hope you appreciate that, because I can get mumbo jumbo, we should have too much trouble.
Well, we could try to play deep light and say, how much does that cost?
Well, you haven't voted.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet, we don't.
Well, oh, I'm sorry, Jim does. Yes.
Just changes down the road, like 5, 10 years?
Yeah, good question. Lots of stuff going on in the next few years. Some of it I can't tell you about because it's still classified. And we're doing some pretty amazing stuff. But your concern probably is, are we going to be looking at turning this over in the next few years? No. We have ShoreTel customers that have been on our platform for, Doug, what would you say, 10 years, 15?
12, 15 years.
12, 15 years and have never replaced anything. I mean, we're very good about making things backward compatible with what you already have. And by the way, software upgrades, which we do a couple of times a year, are included in your service contract, so there's no extra charge for those. So most of our customers stay very current on their software.
Are there other schools to utilize this system?
Oh, yeah, lots. If you like references, we can certainly get you involved. Local schools, you would know.
We're going to be implementing Chardon here.
Yeah, Chardon. I'm more familiar with the Michigan schools, but Troy, Port Huron, Green Bay schools, a big, I forgot the name of it right now, but a huge, one of the biggest school systems in Texas. Jefferson County Public Schools, which is the largest school system in Kentucky, the Louisville school system is going to short term. Lots and lots of schools. We can get your references, Ohio references. Anything else?
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Next.
No, let's talk a little bit about this. The last time we looked at a phone system, the last price I saw was in the 600 range. with a, was it $30,000 maintenance of that system?
Yes, but.
It's like kind of ballpark, kind of, yeah, I
Do you
know it's
have
part of
another
it.
one? That was
But then I came back with the second one, it was in the neighborhood of 340,000, which included annual maintenance in the neighborhood of $30,000 included in that figure. ShoreTel has come in with an estimate for us. It's, I don't have it with me at the present time because they intend on making a recommendation tonight, but it's in the neighborhood of $180,000. And the reason that is they provided us with a 35% discount because of the fact that I tied in with Chardon and the Lake County Emergency Operating Center, who have also implemented ShoreTel. So in order to get us that significant discount, they were hoping that we would be able to also join with Chardon and the Lake County EMC.
What's maintenance?
Maintenance is included in that figure. And the majority of the maintenance is, well, what is done with maintenance, when Doug came in and did a presentation for us several weeks ago, I had Sean and Ed Chandler into that meeting. We will literally, just as Alex is mentioning, we will literally do our own in-house maintenance. Adding voicemails, et cetera, all of that will be done in-house. It's a very simple, and Alex mentioned that a few times, it's a very simple process to have them do that. So maintenance will be done by us.
How would we handle that? Because, like, for instance, Sean, we don't want to get bogged down with doing tech maintenance and that kind of tech stuff. We want them to be working with teachers, enhancing education for the kids. And so how do you see this working? Who would be doing it?
Sean, you want to jump in on that? When we did the presentation,
Depending on when implementation will take place, like for example, if happening over the summer, certainly I would help out with the integration of installing and things like that. And I would want to know how it works anyway. It was a very easy system to set up, so Ed and Don sat in really to take a look at how it would be maintained. Once it's installed and set up, there wouldn't be a whole lot of maintenance on it other than if a single teacher was having a problem or if an administrator was. So there wouldn't be something where it would be a constant. It would be basically what we normally do with current phones now. We don't constantly have phone issues that we deal with all the time. It would be a very similar process on that. So it wouldn't be something that would take this massive amount of time away from Ed, Don, or myself.
and that's also what BCS does. BCS is the provider for any service issues, if there are any service issues. And they're out of watch.
Yeah, I'll add to that if PCS gets stuck on an issue, our technical assistance center in Austin backs them up. So our engineers and our development engineers. So if there's something, a new bug that comes up that happens that we've never seen before, we'll write the patch that goes in to fix that.
Since we have you here, I mean, and please, I hope they're not simple questions, but one presentation is 600,000, another one's 300,000, you're 180. Different mousetrap, different technology. I mean, we're still picking up the phone and using that technology. Well, excuse me, I don't mean to. You did a great presentation, thank you.
No,
the last presentation was pretty overwhelming, so you really boiled it down pretty nicely.
Well, that's the whole point. That's our whole mantra. I mean, when you look at our logo, it's brilliantly simple. We want to make it simple, and simple's less expensive because not only because you don't have to buy as much stuff, but because people don't have to spend the weekly time, as Sean says. You're not going to spend the amount of time you would with some other product.
So your competitor was saying this room, he just presented us a $600,000 system, and you're saying it's simpler. What would he say to that? I mean, because certainly they were rewiring and they were connecting our schools and they were doing all those kind of things. Are we still going to have that connectivity?
Sure, absolutely.
He would say probably that it's better to have 20 servers doing a different function on every server in a single phone system. And ShoreTel says it's better to have a single server that you can back up using technology like virtualization between clusters so that you have far less complexity, which equals far less cost.
Well, in fact, the tasks that happen invisibly within the phone system, when you pick up a phone and you dial and things like that, in some systems that takes a server. A server approves that activity. In the ShoreTel system, we don't use a server to do that. We use an appliance, a solid state appliance. There's one in a little orange box over in the kit over there. that has no moving parts other than the fan. So it's very, very, very reliable, and it does those things. The server houses the database and does things like voicemail and some things like that.
What kind of redundancy is there then?
Yeah, there's a good question. There's absolute redundancy. If one of those appliances fails, the phones that are managed by that particular appliance fail over to another appliance automatically. So our uptime is in the range of years instead of, weeks.
Is there enough capacity to handle, like, how much failure?
That's all in the design. That's all in the design, yeah.
How much? I mean, can we have 50% failure, or, I would say if like the administrative offices in the high school went out, that would probably be 50% failure. Would you handle that?
Well, 50% failure is kind of a difficult thing to get your arms around because the network's a little more complex than that. But if you had these appliances, your chances of having one of these appliances fail would be 0.00001%. And if that happened, you wouldn't be down. Every phone would be working. Also, with many of these systems that are centralized, you got that, they're 5 zeros. 0.00001.
Million, 10 million, 1 out of 10 million? So
Yeah.
you've never had a failure?
We let the class go out too early, didn't we?
Yeah, there you go. It should be a management. So if one of those appliances fails, those phones would fail over to another appliance. But also, because we have these appliances that we can put out at the schools, we don't depend on the schools being connected to each other in order to provide service. They can do it on their own. So if somebody with a ditch digger goes out and cuts your connectivity between buildings, the building that's disconnected continues to operate because it has that intelligence on site. We don't depend on a centralized server to do that. We distribute these appliances throughout the building.
It keeps operating now. Obviously, we need some kind of connectivity to the internet, to the world. I'm not talking
To the
internal, I'm talking external.
Yes, yes.
So internally it'll operate, right?
Yeah.
But externally, you would lose that like you would with anything, right?
Depends.
No.
Depends on how it's designed. So if you have telephone lines into each school, then you can still call out and people can still call in.
So there's redundancy in the phone system itself, and there's also redundancy of your wide area network, correct? So the way that we design the system with Jim and the others on the team is if there is a failure of a piece of equipment, there is a redundant piece of equipment to immediately take over. Not only can we fail over to a black and orange box, we can also fail the black and orange box up to VMware image, not requiring hardware. So there's double redundancy there. Also, having an appliance in each building with local dial tone plugged into it allows us, in the event of a wide area network failure or cut, for that building to completely stand alone and be able to make and take calls.
Okay. So how are you connected then? I mean, I can see the intra-connection, but the interconnection, how do you connect to the broader web and broader phone system? How does that happen? In other words, what do we have to buy? Do we have to pay for internet service, an ISP? Do we have to have a number of phone lines coming in? What do we need to have in addition to what you're providing?
You've already got it. You've got your telephone lines now. We just use those.
Right. And the way that the system is designed, we would actually be able to reduce the number of phone lines that you're currently consuming.
Okay, that was a major interest because we talked about reducing those because
Right.
that's a substantial cost.
You're significantly over-trunked, to use a technical term, over-trunked in the school district. With the design that we proposed to you, we would be able to, at first blush, needing to answer a few more questions about how things are configured, we're looking somewhere between 40 and 50% per month.
And part of the reason that we don't have those answers straight up is because it's very difficult to get information, as I've said umpteen times, on AT&T. It's a very difficult process. I asked Sean how many times he's contacted.
AT&T probably didn't want you to know your road.
That's on purpose.
But you
That's on
mentioned
purpose.
before, though, that by cutting those lines, we'd have a substantial savings. I mean,
We will.
are we talking
We just-
thousands a month? Are we talking thousands a month?
Yes, but we don't know exactly
Yeah.
yet what that final figure will be. But yes, we're talking significant thousands.
Yeah.
Jim? We can't, there's certain lines we can immediately guarantee we would get rid of. Through LGCA over the summer, we are going to be upgrading all of our buildings to fiber. That's part of our renewal with LGCA, which that won't cost us anything more. They're doing that with all the districts that they work with because of the fact that internet connectivity requires a faster connection. So Westwood and Lindsay, for example, which don't have fiber connections right now, will have them this summer. That would be what we'd be using for these phones. So that would mean we currently have a DS1 at both Westwood and Lindsay coming to the middle school right now. Those would be eliminated. That's about $5,500 per year that we're paying on that. The district has a DS1 with DTSE that goes out from the district that's strictly for phones. Because of the fact that it would be using, there's two DS1s. Those would be removed. That comes to about $14,000 per year for the district. That would be removed. We currently right now receive an E-rate on that. E-rate used to support telecommunications. That's a federal funding, E-rate. E-rate has shifted now to being just for internet and network connectivity as a push to allow schools to take greater advantage of that. We have in previous years qualified for 40% E-rate, which would include this current school year, which our phone system is currently under. So those lines that I just mentioned, those costs, and those are only those two lines. We have been getting a 40% back from the federal government on that. Because of the changes, they're cutting that by 20% each year. We did qualify this year for the first time for 50% E-rate, which means that instead of having 40% off of telecommunications, it's going to be 30% for the coming school year on those lines. The year after that, it'll be cut down to 10% if we stay at the 50% rate. I can only assume that that's what we're going to do at. And then after that, it would be zero. They're phasing it out, basically, all telecommunications. So that cost of those the DS1 lines with DTSE comes to roughly about $20,000 per year, which we currently get a 40% rebate on. Eventually, we will be accruing all of those costs. Those aren't the only costs that can be cut. That is, Mr. Russo was mentioning, we are trying to pin down exactly what lines we can cut. Some of the lines we have to keep because we have to have lines in the event of power outages that we can connect outwardly at each building. There's also lines that are associated with things such as the fire drills and security and things. We need to make sure that we aren't getting rid of something that we desperately need.
So Sean, that's where some of our redundancy comes in. That's
Correct.
Sort of our safety net to make sure that
Exactly.
our internet capacity goes down, we still have these conventional lines.
Exactly, and they're ones that we've had for years, that there are ones, and that would be what he was talking about earlier, that those, that this phone service could still tap into those lines because they still exist. So we'd be able to use them. Obviously, we wouldn't want to use that as a constant, but that would be in an emergency, a building loses internet coverage or something.
When we install a system like this with the fiber optics, does that mean we're then going to get the E-rate for internet as opposed to the former telecommunications E-rate?
We already get the E-rate for internet, so
Yeah.
we're already getting the 50% off from that, which we were 40% last year. So our LGCA services, which is where we get those lines from, we are going to be getting 50% this year for the first time. We've been 40% previously. So that we're actually getting a greater discount this time. And our renewal rate with LGCA is the same renewal rate that we had the previous year. So we'll have the same connectivity. They are putting in the new fiber. There will be no additional cost to the district. There's actually a savings to the district because we qualified for a higher discount rate.
Yeah, so if I get this right then,
That's really separate from this.
Yeah.
We're going to be able to use those lines with this because we already have them in play, and that will not affect our connectivity at all. It's such a minuscule amount, we will be able to provision those lines. We won't be using those lines to their full capacity.
yeah. Now. Okay.
They're 1 gigabit lines. We're using 250. We have 250 megabytes of internet right now. We don't use the 250 megabytes as a district right now. So we do have a lot of room for growth without this being something that would take a hit on us for quite long.
Judge, I was skeptical. Pardon me? I was skeptical.
I know. This could have been a much longer presentation. I was asked to keep it brief, so that's why I'm hoping that, you're not thinking we're not trying to answer the question.
No, I appreciate it, thank you. Great presentation, actually, thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to the cafeteria.
Yes, Mike said that there was a question regarding some, wanted me to give you some information regarding the cafeteria renovation at the high school. We actually had a pre-bid meeting today at 3 o'clock with interested contractors. There were probably 4 or 5 contractors there. Pre-bids are not mandatory. You can't make them mandatory, so I don't believe that everybody that could possibly bid on this project was there. But we had a handful of them there today. Basically, to give you an overview of what the renovation consists of, what we'll be doing in the cafeteria proper, we'll be removing the existing drop ceiling, putting in a new drop ceiling with new lighting. That new lighting, now you know when you go in there, we have all those old egg crate fixtures, well, they'll be gone. We'll be looking at either T5s or LED. We're going to look at both, depending on what the pricing is. LEDs, as you well know, are a little more expensive up front, but the long-term costs of them are just hard to beat. So we'll be looking at that type of lighting. As far as the cafeteria proper also is concerned, if you recall when you walk into the cafeteria, there are several sets of doors. There's one set of doors that's an old wooden set of doors that has real ancient type of wood trim, etc. We're going to replace those doors with new doors similar to our other entry doors at the high school, the regular metal doors with glass, etc. There's a second entry into the high school cafeteria, which is a single door. We're going to open that up and make that a double door entry. What is next to that single door is an old cabinet with wooden shelves, etc. That cabinet is going to be removed. We'll have a doorway there. As I said, there's going to be a double door there for entry to and from the high school, or the high school cafeteria. And then we're going to put in a showcase inside that shelving area. So it's going to be an entirely new look. And then adjacent to that, there's also an old cabinet. That's going to be removed. So all that, quote, ugly looking woodwork is going to be removed and replaced. Also in the cafeteria proper, the wall that currently exists where the kitchen is, there's a couple of man doors that take you into the kitchen through the serving line. 2/3 of that wall is going to be removed. And it's going to have a partition in its place. That partition is going to open and close 2 ways. If you're facing the cafeteria, if you're facing the kitchen, on the left-hand side, there's going to be an a la carte line. So the partition is going to open from left to right, and it's going to go into a cubby. On the right-hand side, it's going to be the regular type A lunch, the regular large serving line where kids go for their regular meals. That will be a much larger entry area. The partition then will fold from right to left into a cubby area. Now, the reason that I included that cubby area is because on the other side of that wall is our main electrical panels. And I didn't want to take, because that becomes a massive issue to replace all of that electric. So what we did is we built that into the partition. So what's going to happen is they're going to be just like a, like a hided door, like you do with hided doors. Those partitions are going to fold up and go into those 2 cubbies. And you won't see them. You'll see just that portion of the wall that remains there. When the partitions are closed, they're going to be sealed off. They're going to be acoustical type of panels that are attractive but are also acoustical, because I certainly have concerns about kitchen noise entering the cafeteria, because the cafeteria is used for a lot of study halls. As far as the kitchen proper is concerned, the serving line is going to be moved back a little bit. As I mentioned, there are going to be 2 separate lines now, an a la carte line and a regular meal line. There are going to be 2 cashier stations, one for the regular serving line, one for the a la carte line. Also, when you open those partitions, and now you're going to be looking into the kitchen, the front portion of the kitchen where the serving line currently exists, that portion, new ceiling, new tile, new lighting in that portion also. And then outside the wall, we're going to have a semicircle with recessed lighting. That'll be very, very attractive. When those partitions are closed, you have that recessed lighting. It's going to be a very, very attractive area. We're going to have some graphics on the wall, etc. So that's basically it in a nutshell. Certainly, time is an issue because of the lateness of this project. The bids will be open next Wednesday at noon. I had asked Mike if we could have a special meeting soon thereafter so that we could approve the low bidder and get this project started. If we start the following week, we'll have about 7 weeks before the week before school starts. And I'd like then to get that cafeteria painted. Painting's not included in this project, but as I think you well know, I have for the last 3 years been doing painting projects at all the buildings. They have the option of 5 classrooms or comparable areas. We chose to do the cafeteria as part of what we're going to be doing this summer. So I'm hoping that week before school starts, I'll be able to get that cafeteria painted.
So you said that you're going to have 2 lines a la carte and for lunch A.
Yes.
And then you're going to have separate cashier stations.
Yes.
Are there currently 2 cashiers right now?
Yes.
Okay, so there's no additional cost in staff.
And they just, what happens now is one's on the end of the line and one's on the other end of the line. There are 2 separate ends of the lines. Now they're going to be very close to where the line ends. It's going to be much more efficient the way they'll be operating. But no additional. Our goal with this whole operation is to get more participation, get more kids in and out of there, and get our operation to at least a break even, which we're going to do.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
That concludes my report. I know. So talkative.
Do I have a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendations? Second?
Okay, thank you. Item A is personnel. Basically, some of our fall and summer supplementals, some of the van and bus drivers. Item B is the administrative contract recommendations, which you have a copy of. Item C is the primary service agreement with the Geauga County ESC. And my understanding is we are spending less money this year than we did last year.
We're staying with Geauga County, right?
Correct. Item D is our autism agreement.
Let's go back.
Okay.
Let's go back to
C.
CSC. Are we only, right now, Kenston hasn't made a choice, correct?
That's
Sharp's
correct.
moved to Cuyahoga County.
Correct.
And so
We
if,
still will not make a decision.
so we could conceivably be the only big boy still playing in the Geauga County ESC, but our costs aren't going up.
You are the only, there's 2 different agreements. Remember, there's the primary service agreement where our funds go, and then there's related service agreement where we get our special education
Right.
and related services. Kinston and Chardon will still be participating in that agreement.
They have to.
They have to. They have another year on their contract, just like we do. Every year you can renew it for any perpetual until we get out of it. So that isn't, that's where the large amount of money, the $2 million that we spend on those services, that's where that falls in that.
So basically, we're talking about stuff like professional development and stuff with Geauga County ESC.
Yeah, we get some,
What we're approving right now.
and we get some additional administrative costs. If they use your offices and all that, we pay for some administrative costs through our state fees, we pay for it too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael, is that your recommendation? Have you consulted with the next superintendent about this?
Yeah, we talked. Yeah, I try to do that on all major decisions moving forward.
they've been very good about making me involved in that, Michael, and we really changed daily, weekly. That's, I could have told somebody at any given time, I was pretty sure we were going to Cuyahoga County, and I'm pretty sure we're going to Chaga, so I mean, but we, I think ultimately this is the right decision for us. I really do.
Items E and F are the handbooks with the one change on the date.
I just want to say that, in the reading this, I am so very proud of, I'm sure all the administration did this with fees. I noticed only like 3 or 4 that went up a couple dollars. A huge chunk of 20 plus went down, which was awesome. I think parents love to see that. That should be advertised because they really, want to know that we're using all their dollars. So, I mean, even if it was 47 cents or $1.50, a lot went down.
Yeah, we challenged the administration to hold fees steady for commercials. And so each one of them looked at what they had to have to recognize classes, so you have to have them. At least that we only keep their grades flat. Middle school, you saw a reduction, and then high school, you see a comparison reduction as well. So they did a great job. Yeah, great job.
Wednesday meeting. All right. Items G and H for the rest of the trip, team camp,